So how am I doing? We're going to broadcast.
Oh, you're amazing.
We're going to have like a whole little
You should have your own show.
microphone and everything.
Yeah.
Because your background's communications.
Yes, yes.
So tell me about that. Did you study that here or in Colombia?
In Colombia. So
Okay.
that was back in 2013. So in 2013, I came here, but I didn't finish school there. I just did like an internship exchange program. So it was supposed to be for a year. So when I came here, I met my husband. And he was pretty much who like taught me how to speak English. So we were every day, we were like studying every day, the whole week, because he was in the military. So we were not together all the time. And then I was supposed to go back to finish my school and do my internship. But he was like, why don't you get an internship here? So I was like, okay. So I did. I got my internship here in a newspapers in Manchester, Georgia, because I used to live there. Mm-hmm. And it's a small town, but they own all the newspapers around here. So I got a job, an internship there. And then we got married. I finished school in Colombia, but I couldn't go back because I was, because of my papers, I was in transition. So my mom went to my graduation.
Oh, wow.
They all did, but
so she walked for you?
Yes, she did. Wow. They let her do that. So I finished there, and then here I got a job at another newspapers in Fayette County. Mm-hmm. I worked there for like a year and a half. I think it was a year and a half, and then I went to marketing, and that's how I started real estate, because I went to work for an agent and her team doing marketing and transaction coordination. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. And
which
then
started you on this path.
Yeah. So I had no idea about real estate, like at all. So she was a Hispanic, she is a Hispanic agent, and they have a big team and at the time, and she taught me everything about contracts, about transaction coordinator. So I learned a lot when I was working with her, and I always thank her because she was like my mentor in real estate. So then after that, I went to work for the attorney's office as a post-closer, and then pre-closer, and then closer, and that's when, like, for several years, and then that's when I was like, I think I want to do loans, because I'm already working on the numbers, working with the lenders, and I like it. I'm liking this. So I know pretty much every side of the transaction in real estate because I have worked in every side. I was also a buyer. So I think when I switched to lending, it was different, right? But I mean, with that background, I think it helped me to try to help, clients better, maybe. Yes.
So with communication and then going into real estate and then going into the closing piece, like working with attorneys, and now on the mortgage side, I mean, do you have a favorite?
I like everything,
Mm-hmm.
but I think everything is the same though. I mean, it comes down to helping, the buyers, the sellers of the transaction. So I think it just comes down to the same thing. Mm-hmm. Just close the transaction. I think in lending I love lending just because you get to kind of like tell people, hey, here are your numbers. You qualify for this based on your credit, your income. Now, if your credit is not as great, as we want to, I can help you get there. So like, I think that's a good part of lending too, is trying to educate people with their finances, with their credit, because some people say, well, my credit is really bad. And when you look at it, it's like 600. And I can work with that. I mean, I can help you get there. It's not as bad as you think, or it's not like deal breaker. We can still work on it. So I think that's the best part about this, is trying to help people trying to get a home. So, but it's all the same, you know. So I think my favorite will be lending. Yeah.
Good, right answer.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're doing now.
Right.
But I think it's true because I started out in real estate and then come over to the mortgage side.
Yeah.
But I still felt very connected to the whole process.
Right.
I never worked for a closing attorney. But you do feel like as a lender, you're really part of the problem solving. You're solutioning. You're really
it's more
structuring.
personal too with the with the buyer, because at the attorney's office you represent the lender, so everything you do is for the lender. You can talk to the buyers, explain the numbers, but there is a fine line that you have to draw and say, hey, your lender needs to explain that to you, and it's something I can't explain to you. So sometimes people get a little frustrated, because of that. But at the same time, at the attorney's office is more about the lender, about having everything ready for the lender. So in lending, it's more personal, so it's everything about the buyer.
Never thought about that before.
Yeah, so it's a little more, I don't know the word, but maybe emotional. Because you get to know that person, and it's also like the biggest transaction in your life, the biggest investment. So you want to make sure that they, that they're okay and that they understand everything, because when they don't, they get frustrated and then they don't understand why. And some people probably never go back to apply for a loan, So I think you have to understand how they feel, and that it is a big investment. So if they have doubts about the transaction, you have to educate them and say, hey, this is what we're gonna do, this is how it works. Because if you don't do that, then they are going to sign something and then later, there's issues. So I think it's important just to have that personal connection with your buyer, just so they can feel that you do care about their life and about the transaction.
Now you're bilingual.
Yes.
I mean, obviously, we talked about that. But,
yes.
So do you feel like when you're working with buyers who speak Spanish, right, Hispanic borrowers or Latino borrowers, that things might get lost in translation, or when they're someone who speaks Spanish working with someone who maybe doesn't speak Spanish, is there anything that maybe as an English only speaking loan officer that maybe I need to be aware of? Anything that I might be doing or saying that might not come across or might get lost in translation? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I think that if you are going to work, as I would say, like for example, you with somebody that is Hispanic,
where English is their second language,
right? English. So I think there is gonna be more explaining, not because they don't understand it, but like some things you do have to explain, because in their countries a lot of things are way different. They're handled different, so they might not understand why we're doing it this way, and then they might think that maybe you just want to do it that way, but and I can understand that. I mean, some transactions like this in Colombia, they're way different. They're not as I don't want to say complicated, but they're more just sign this paper, you agree, okay, good, you like the house, then buy it, right? Here is different. There is all these laws, there is a lot of paperwork that you have to fill out, and then I think they need to understand why we're filling out those documents, why this number is going to be higher later, or things like that. So I think as any loan officer, if they're going to work with Hispanics or Latinos that maybe they speak English, things need to be explained.
They need to understand the why.
Right, the why, because they come from different countries that they do things differently, So I think that's the major thing, and I think that's why I do like to explain the why, so they can, it's the same, educate people about the laws and the regulations that we have.
I mean, I typically will explain the whys if it's a first-time home buyer. Like, why am I asking for this document? And I'll try to explain it, because I want someone to explain it that way to me.
Yes.
If it's something I'm not familiar with. But culturally, I never thought about that before.
Yes, I mean,
you just assume if someone's owned a home before, maybe they just already understand this.
And sometimes some people get the question, well, why do they think that this is handled this way? So you need to think, well, in their country it's handled differently, and they are used to that. They don't know anything else. So when they come to a new country and they don't know anything, like the laws or anything, they don't have anybody to walk them through it, then there's going to be frustration. So I like to, and also with like first time home buyers, even if they are not Hispanics, I like to explain everything and ask them, if you don't understand anything, please let me know, because I can walk you through it. Not just Hispanics, but I think if you're going to work with the Hispanic community, then you should be able to explain the why on everything. Yeah.
Is there anything unique with like your culture, Colombian or any other Hispanic community, in how maybe you handle your finances or job, payroll, things like that? Is there anything that might be unique that we might need to be aware of? Like, I know there's products that are specific to.
Yes. So it depends. So now you have your citizen, you have your permanent resident, and you have your ITIN holders. So maybe it's a new citizen, right? So maybe they know already a lot of things. They became citizens. They know most of the process here in the U.S. And then you have your permanent resident that maybe they have been here for a short time. That doesn't mean they don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that. I'm saying like it's different with like purchasing a house. And then you have ITIN holders. So there's different programs for all of them. I never tell them, hey, if your ITIN is limited. It's not limited. There's a lot of programs to buy a home. And we can shop around, we can see the differences, but you can buy a house. And that's the thing, like you have to tell people, don't think that it's hard. It's not hard. You can buy a home, just follow these steps that I'm giving you. If you don't have, they say, I don't have credit. I'll help you get credit. My credit is very low. I just got a credit card and I don't use it. Well, I will walk you through to build that credit, because if you want a home, you're going to get it. So yeah, there's different programs. There's different things that you can explain to them that they don't know, because like in Colombia, we don't have credit scores. So
Gotcha.
Explaining that to, like, for example, my parents, they were like, well, you keep talking about a credit score. What is that? So some people don't know because they never, in their countries, they don't have a credit score.
So is everything just paid cash? Or
No,
is it they can borrow, but there's just no credit reporting?
they can borrow, but I guess they do like an analysis of your finances, but not your credit score, right? So
Gotcha.
like there's something called data credit, which is where everything, like all the information goes there. So if you are in default of a loan, it's going to be there. It's going to show. So they look at that, but we don't have like a credit score. So it makes it a little harder if you don't understand that why you can buy without a credit score. Now, there is programs that they can use with no credit score. And then that's when you can use your utility bills, history, and all of that to build kind of like your credit and to show the lender, well, I have a great payment history. Can I do the loan? So yeah, I mean, you can buy a house. There's different programs for any status of your papers.
Nice. And you said, okay, so you bought a home here.
Yes.
Was that your first home?
That was my first home, yes.
So what were you doing at the time when you were working and buying that home? Were you
I was already in real estate.
Already in real estate?
Yes.
So you had some basic understanding from the real estate side.
And like it was so funny because when I was working with that agent, I never thought like I would buy a house so quickly. I'll be like, it was like a far dream, like a far away dream. But I was like, well, maybe one day. But when I was with her and I learned all of this, I was like, this is not as hard as we think or as some people say,
What made you think that it would be a long-term thing, like a faraway dream?
I just thought that maybe my income at the time wasn't sufficient for a loan. maybe my income or my work history. For some reason, I thought, well, if I don't have like 10 years of work history, or I didn't know anything about my credit score back then because I just got a car. So for me, it was like a very far away dream. Maybe I thought that you have to have like a higher income or like a really good job to be able to do it, right? Because once again, in Colombia, they look at your finances and they analyze it and they said, okay, you can get a loan, right? But here is all of these numbers, right, that go into it. So I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna be able to. But then working with her and working with these buyers and helping them get their documents for the house, I was like, we need to do that. This is a no-brainer. Rent is expensive, right? So at the time we were paying rent and then they were increasing it. So I told my husband, we need to buy a home. And he's an American guy. So he was never, I don't know if, some guys don't think about it as hard as like women, right? Like, let's buy a house, like, let's be impulsive.
We want to make a home.
Let's apply, right? And he'll be like, hold on, we need to think about it. Blah, blah. So I was like, no, I'm going to lay down everything I have seen. This is my agent. She says, we can do this. We already have a lender. Like, let's talk to the lender. And the lender at the time, she was a VA specialist. So she was like, first of all, you have a great loan. So if you can do VA, this is going to be great. So she explained to us everything, like the whys, right? Because he was also like not understanding a lot of things. But she explains the whys, whens, all of that. And it makes sense. So he was like, okay, let's do it. It made sense. So we ended up buying our house, and then our monthly payment was like $800. It was cheaper than our rent by the time. So I think, so that's why I say like the why is very important, because even my husband, he was American. Once she explained the why, he was like, I feel comfortable with it because now I know how it works. What I really love right now is that I have this background in every side of the transaction. So I know how the seller feels. I know how the buyer feels. I know how the agent feels. I know how the attorneys feel, or the staff, So like I can understand now frustrations better, and maybe I can handle it better. I think that's what I enjoyed the most, that I know and I understand every side, and I know how everybody feels, because a transaction is, you think it's going to be easy and it's all happiness, but there is a lot of stress in every side of the transaction, because we all want to close, right? We all want the same thing, but at the same time, it's like a huge investment. There is also like talking about money. Some people put all their savings into buying a home, 401ks, anything they want, so of course there is going to be a lot of stress. So I think that helps me understand everybody and maybe handle everything better. So, there is not a lot of stress.
I love that. Like, I just want to spend the day with you. Because you can tell that you care. Now, I think part of that might be because you're, a newer mom.
Yes.
Maybe do you think that softened you at all, or were you always just this nurturing?
So I'm always really chill and nice. But I think having a baby, it changed me. So being a mom, she's little, she's 15 months. So it did change me a lot at work. Why? Because whenever I'm filling out an application and then you go over, you have an independence, all of this. Yes, I have a 1-year-old, I have a 5-year-old. Anything with kids, I'm like, okay, now I'm getting emotional, right? Now I'm going to have this connection with this person. And not that if somebody without kids, I'm not saying that, but I feel like the family part and all of this is like, okay, it becomes more emotional. So yes, I think that it changed me to be more maybe calm and understanding of their needs. So yeah, it does change you a lot at work. Communication with people, with your clients. So it's great though, because I was soft, but this made me more softer.
It creates more empathy in you when you become a mom, I think. Or anytime your family grows, or you've got, someone maybe that's dependent on you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Then you start to visualize, oh gosh, they've got kids, or they've got, maybe a parent or someone they're taking care of.
Right.
And you can immediately put yourself in their shoes.
I mean, I have 5 clients that with, conversations that they get very personal with you. And I have had clients that are single dads, single moms, couples that have a struggle with infertility. And I went through that too. So I feel like it does make you stronger personally, because I did struggle a lot with fertility issues. And then it makes you more closer to your client, because buying a house is stressful, but also everybody has issues in their life. So you kind of have to understand that if somebody is having a bad day, it's not just because of the transaction, right? It could be something else. So I think all of these things, getting a little personal with your client is better.
Which is great, because you started out, you said, as a transaction coordinator.
Yes.
Kind of in the business. And when people think transaction coordinator, they think, well, they don't care.
Right.
They're just punching numbers in a system and pushing paper. Like, they're not going to connect with me. There's no FaceTime. There's no conversation there.
Right.
They don't really care.
Yeah. I mean, people think that, but you are the first person they are going to talk to probably every day, because you are handling all of their information and all of their numbers, and you're pretty much telling them, hey, I know you're struggling with this credit, let's get it, let's fix it, or you're struggling with something else, or you can fill out your application online, let me help you, I can just call you real quick, fill it out, over the phone, because everybody has issues. So yeah, like, being in an office doesn't make you not care. I think that you can have that connection with your client via email, phone, message, but you do, I mean, I just feel like you do have to get a little personal, because I went through all of these issues, right? I went through all of this stress too. So I try to make it as easier as possible.
So if somebody wanted to work with you, when do you suggest they actually reach out? Like, when they're first thinking about buying a home, or if they found a home?
I always tell them, because I have had that question before, like, when is the best time to buy a home? And I'm like, today. Like, now, Well, I'm thinking about moving in 2 years. I'm like, well, if you want to know where you're at right now, I can tell you. If we need to fix some stuff, I can tell you how to fix them. And then in 2 years, maybe, you want to move, or maybe it's going to make sense now, and then you can move now. But I feel like people need to know where they stand to buy a home, because there is a lot into it, right? That maybe you're not aware. So I will give them the information and educate them. And maybe if they want to do it now, that's great. If they want to wait a little bit and work on some stuff, that's great. But they already know where they stand with their credit.
And you can do it in 2 languages.
Yes, I can do it in any language. Well, Spanish 3. And English.
Mommy too. Mommy language.
Too. Yes. Yes.